Well guys, Airbnb might have started its final descent into a more realistic price range. What's up guys, it's Cody. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about Airbnb and the price drop that they saw in the market today. They're down over 7% as of right now, and I want to show you the stock and how it performed over the last couple of days with the IPO, and now the fact that it's actually dropped back down and where it's sitting right now. So this is something that's very important. If you're looking at this company, you want to know where the stock is at, what the share price is, and what an actual realistic buy target is for this company. This is a company that I've covered a few times here on the channel. This is one where I said, hey, when they first announced their IPO, they were expecting that share price to be somewhere between like $44 and $50. And I thought, hey, this is pretty good, but I still think maybe it might be a little overpriced. Well, okay, I underestimated the market. I underestimated where things were at that time and how much hype there is going into the market and how much hype there is around a company that is industry changing, just like this one, right? Every once in a while, you've got a company that absolutely changes the entire industry that they're working in. Airbnb is one of those companies. Some other companies that come to mind are Amazon, Tesla, Uber. These are companies that have totally changed the industry that they are a part of, and Airbnb is no different. So I will admit, hey, I was a little bit off when it came to the initial valuation of Airbnb. I looked at this, compared it to a company like Expedia, who owns Vrbo, which is a competitor to Airbnb, and said, look, at these numbers, Expedia is a way better buy than Airbnb is, but Airbnb has the hype, they have the change, they have the name, and they have the ability to continue to grow because they've got that brand recognition. A lot of people are going to recognize Airbnb, but they're not going to recognize, companies such as Vrbo, right? It's just not as well known. They don't have the branding presence that this company Airbnb does have. So we're going to look at the stock here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of the company and where I think the price will go, and what my buy targets are for this particular company and the share price. So jumping in here, you can see that if we look back over the last couple of days, we'll just go back 5 days. IPO opened trading at like 147. I think 147 was the initial mark, and you can see it had a huge spike right off the bat as a lot of people probably put in market orders and got them filled, and it just pushed the price way up because people weren't expecting it to. That you should always use limit orders, especially in a situation like this. Definitely use a limit order so you don't get your price pushed way up. I feel bad for those people who bought at 163, but anyways, the price came down, hit 150 for a second, dropped all the way down to 142, and then kind of bounced around here for the first day or so. After that, it traded down just slightly back in that 147 range. And then if we look into today, you can see the price just basically, took a nosedive off of this. So it did come down a little bit as the market closed, and we're about 140. And then coming into today, when the market opened, down all the way to 129, currently sitting at 129 still. So it's kind of traded flat for the day. But I mean, just this huge sell-off right at the beginning of the day, losing quite a bit of value there, roughly $10 per share. So there's a huge drop there. I think the company is just way overvalued to begin with. And I think that the price has to come back down even more for me to even consider buying in. Doing some further research, looking at the hype of this company, looking at where it could possibly go over the next couple of years, looking at the earnings, looking at how the world is changing coming out of this pandemic. I do think that Airbnb has a lot of potential, but for me, it's still not even a buy. It's still not even something I can consider until it's at least under $100 a share. Yeah, when I first started, I said, hey, 44 to 50, I don't know, I might buy, I want to own this company long term. Then it got pushed up to that $56 to $60 range, and I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit hyped. I think there's going to be more demand than that. And then it ended up, saying, hey, we've got our IPO price at $68. It actually traded at double that and came onto the market in that 147 range. So tons of hype around this company. For me, it's just not even a buy with where their bookings are at and where their revenue's at, and the fact that they had to just raise a bunch of money, to get through this pandemic, lay off a bunch of employees. The way that I'm seeing this, I just don't think that it's going to make sense to own this company for at least a couple of years. Now, that's always the plan, right? I'm a long-term investor. I do have some trades that I make short-term just to try and make a quick buck, but the majority of my portfolio, 95% of it, is held in long-term investments, and I'm okay waiting a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years for a company to become profitable or to become, profitable for me, as long as I expect that company to actually do well in the long run. I do think that Airbnb is one of those companies. I do think that they're going to see success over the next 3 to 5 years as we come out of this pandemic, as we get the world back to normal, as people continue traveling or get back to traveling. I just see Airbnb absolutely blowing up, but I think these next couple of quarters are going to look pretty grim for them. These are a couple of things that I want you guys to be aware of because I think there's some danger here that you need to know. Q4 is when we saw this huge, massive surge. All of the numbers that Airbnb reported for their IPO were based off of Q3, which is when a lot of people started traveling again, right? They started getting out of town. They started going to these hideaways, whatever. Their numbers really looked good as far as what the numbers they were using for the IPO. However, then as we moved into the winter months, Airbnb, they saw a decrease because the number of COVID cases was actually increasing at this time. All of the numbers are pointing, saying, hey, this is going to be a long winter. We're going to expect these COVID cases to surge and continue surging throughout the next little bit. And so I think that Q4 and Q1 of 2021 for Airbnb are going to see lower numbers. And I think that's really going to bring a lot of investors to the point where they say, hey, look, these numbers actually aren't quite as good as we were expecting. We thought we were on an uptrend, but we just had a little bump and then we came back down, and it's going to be a couple months, probably a couple quarters before we actually see that continue to increase from where it's at right now. As far as the Airbnb revenue numbers, their bookings, nights stayed, all of that stuff, right? So looking at their share price right now of 129, it's still way too high for me. Like I said, I can't even consider buying into this until it's at least under $100. I would love to get it at like that $70, $80, $85 mark. That's really where I'd love to get it. I don't know it's ever going to drop that low. I do think that by Q1, I do think it will be under 100, and that's going to be the time I'd love to buy into this company, because I do think that it could be a $250, $300 stock in the next 3 to 5 years, give or take. So I do see a lot of outlook with this, but I just want to give you guys a quick update, kind of where this is at right now. I mean, man, 7% drop right now. I would not be surprised if this drops even more going into the end of Q4 here, going into the end of the year. I would not be surprised if it drops even more. So be careful with this stock, guys. If you're thinking about getting invested in this stock, I don't know. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see where it goes over the next little bit. I'm not going to do anything with it just yet. So just be careful with this. I think it's still a very long-term play at this point. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, you enjoyed the fact that I just got right into the information today, give me a thumbs up here on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about money, stocks, and real estate. I love talking about that stuff here on the channel, and I'd love for you to be a part of it as well. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.